Hey everyone, welcome back to Grandpa's Confessions. Today our talk is going to be a little different. I'm going to open my heart about something that haunted me for a long time, something that many people out there face, but few talk about. Openly, my battle against an addiction that plagues America. It's a story of pain, of shame, but also of an overcoming that brought me back to life. You know, life is full of traps we don't even realize exist. They don't come with alarms or red flags. On the contrary, they often disguise themselves as solutions, as relief, as a helping hand. For me, the trap was set in a way that seemed completely innocent, almost like a gift from heaven. It was pain, real pain, persistent, the kind that steals your sleep, drains your energy, and prevents you from living the life you once knew. Then I was in my prime, active, working hard, raising my children, and this pain was starting to steal all that from me. I went to the doctor, of course. Back then, we trusted implicitly what the doctor said, and he seemed to have the perfect answer. He gave me a prescription for a potent painkiller, one of those that promised to end any suffering. And indeed, the first pill seemed like a miracle. The pain disappeared. And with it, not only the physical discomfort, but also a lot of the worries that came with it. That tension in my shoulders, the irritation from not being able to do simple daily tasks, all of it vanished. The pill gave me a sense of well-being, a warmth spreading through my body, a calm I didn't know I needed. At first, it was just for the pain, as the doctor had instructed. I took it only when I truly needed it. Maybe once or twice a day. But then, the pain, which seemed to come and go, started to become an excuse. It wasn't just physical pain anymore. It was also the headache after a stressful day, the anxiety of an important presentation at work, the difficulty falling asleep after an argument at home. That pill, which was once medicine, began to transform into a refuge. And that's how it gets you, slowly, without you even realizing you're falling into an abyss. The frequency increased. From when I need it, it became when I want to feel good. From one or two, it became just one more won't hurt. I started justifying the use to myself. Oh, it's just to relax. I had a tough day. I deserve it. I can't sleep without it. The line between need and desire became thinner and thinner until it disappeared completely. I was getting addicted, but denial was such a high wall that I couldn't see the danger. I told myself I was in control, that I would stop whenever I wanted. What a sweet illusion. Many people in America today who are in the same situation, I guarantee you, started exactly like this. It's a silent cycle, fueled by our vulnerability, our search for relief. Doctors prescribing without realizing the danger, patients seeking a quick fix for pain, and the addiction market lurking, ready to exploit that fragility. Society didn't openly talk about this back in my day, and that lack of conversation only worsened the situation, leaving thousands of people trapped in their own snares, not knowing where to run or who to ask for help. My story is the story of many, and that's why it's so important that I tell it. The trap was set, and I, like so many, fell into it without even realizing it. It didn't take long for the pills to take over my life. What started as relief, a small help for physical pain, turned into a necessity that controlled every beat of my heart, every thought in my mind. I woke up thinking about them. I went to sleep thinking about them. My mind became a constant battlefield, torn between the guilt of doing something so destructive and the desperation of not being able to live without that feeling of normalcy the pills gave me. The irony is that to feel normal, I was becoming someone I barely recognized. My routine became a choreography of lies and hiding places. I hid in the bathroom, in the car, even in the basement, to take my doses. My eyes were always alert, searching for signs that someone had discovered my secret. The truth is, my wife, my dear Elizabeth, she noticed. I saw the worry growing in her eyes, the questioning in her inquiries. She'd ask if I was okay, if something was wrong, but I always had an excuse ready. I'd say it was work stress, old age, catching up, anything to deflect attention from the real cause of my change. But lies, they carry a weight. And that weight began to crush my relationships. My children, who once saw me as a pillar of strength, started looking at me with a mix of confusion and disappointment. I lost my temper easily, isolated myself, and increasingly preferred the company of my pills to the company of my own family. Laughter at the dinner table became rare, replaced by a heavy silence laden with unspoken things. I drifted away from work, from my passions. I became a ghost in my own home. Addiction doesn't just steal your sanity, it steals your dignity, your purpose. I lost my job, not because I was incompetent, but because I was irresponsible, inconsistent. I arrived late, didn't deliver what was needed. My productivity plummeted, and the respect of my colleagues and bosses vanished. The shame was immense, but the need to maintain the addiction blinded me to the consequences. I cared more about securing the next dose than about securing my future or my family's future. I remember one day looking in the mirror. I didn't recognize myself anymore. That sparkle in my eyes that Elizabeth loved so much was gone. My face was pale, my eyes dull and tired. I was no longer the present father, the loving husband, the dedicated worker. I became a shadow, a body inhabited only by the incessant search for the next pill. This is the dirty secret of addiction. It isolates you, steals everything you are, everything you love, until there's almost nothing left. I was at rock bottom, and every day I dug a little deeper. The darkness was complete, and I saw no way out. I remember the night everything changed. It wasn't a divine light tearing through the clouds, nor a grand epiphany. It was the darkness, a darkness so dense and suffocating that there was no more room for denial, for lies, for excuses. I was alone at home, trembling not from cold, but from withdrawal. My body screamed for the pills, and I had none left. The desperation was palpable, a wild animal gnawing at me from within. I could no longer hide from myself. That was rock bottom, and there was nowhere left to go. Suddenly my gaze fell upon a photo frame on the bedside table. It was an old picture of my grandchildren, still small, smiling with the purity only children possess. In that image, I was the proud grandfather, the man they admired. In that moment, at my most vulnerable state, I saw myself, a defeated man, trembling, dirty, unrecognizable. I didn't want that to be my legacy to them. I didn't want them to see me that way, nor to have the grandfather I had become. That shock, that cruel vision of reality, was a punch to the gut. I didn't want to be another statistic in that addiction that destroys so many American families. It was such immense despair that it transformed into a cry for help. Not an audible scream, but a cry from the soul, a surrender. I couldn't do it alone anymore. That was my click, the moment when it finally dawned on me, and I allowed myself to ask for help. This is the hardest part, believe me, for a man who had always been proud, who always solved his own problems. Admitting defeat was the greatest challenge of all. But at that point, the alternative was death, whether physical or the death of my soul. The next day, my body still trembling and my mind clouded, but with a newfound determination, I called Elizabeth. Her voice was tense, full of caution. I said, with the hardest words I have ever uttered, "I need help. I can't take it anymore. I'm addicted." The silence on the other end of the line was almost deafening, laden with years of pain and worry. But then I heard her sigh, and I felt that for the first time in a long time there was a faint glimmer of hope. Elizabeth, with all her strength and love, took me to a rehabilitation center. Entering it was a mix of relief and dread. Relief at finally seeking help, dread of the unknown, of the withdrawal that would come, of the shame of exposing my weakness. But there, in that place, surrounded by professionals and other people who, like me, were fighting their own battles, I began to feel that perhaps there was a way back. That despair transformed into a spark that, however faint, had the power to ignite the hope of a new life. That was the beginning of my journey out of the abyss. Stepping into that rehabilitation center was like passing through a portal to a world I didn't know, a world where truth was the only currency and vulnerability the greatest strength. I won't lie, it wasn't easy. The first few days were hell. My body screamed for the pill. My mind was a whirlwind of guilt, anger, and despair. Withdrawal is a real monster, and every muscle in my body cried out for relief. There were days I wanted to give up, days when the urge to return to that old life of numbness was almost unbearable. But there, I wasn't alone. I went to group therapy, and at first I felt exposed, ashamed. But listening to other people share their own stories, their own falls, and their sparks of hope slowly started to break down the walls I had built around myself. I realized that my story, my pain, weren't unique. Those people, from different parts of America, from different realities, were fighting the same battle against the same type of addiction, or against others just as devastating. We cried together, we laughed together, and most importantly, we supported each other. It was there that I understood the power of community and empathy. The famous 12-step programs, like Alcoholics Anonymous, AA, and Narcotics Anonymous, NA, were fundamental pillars in my recovery. I learned to deal with the truth, to take a moral inventory, to apologize to those I had hurt. It wasn't about forgetting the past, but about learning from it and moving forward. With each step, each meeting, I felt a piece of my soul being restored. Those wise old mentors, who had been through it all, gave me direction, hope, and the push I needed. They taught me that recovery isn't a destination, it's a daily journey. Individual therapy was also crucial. With the help of a professional, I began to unravel the layers of why I had fallen into that trap. It wasn't just physical pain, it was also work pressure, expectations, difficulty dealing with emotions. Understanding the root of the problem gave me the tools to build a stronger foundation for the future. It was arduous work, diving deep into my own flaws and fears, but every discovery was a step towards freedom. My family, even with the wounds left open by years of lies and disappointments, stood by my side. Elizabeth, my wife, with her unwavering strength, never gave up on me. My children, cautious at first, began to reopen their hearts. They participated in family therapy sessions, and together we began to rebuild the bridges that addiction had destroyed. Every day, a small gesture of trust, a smile, an honest conversation was a victory. Sobriety is a daily choice, and I choose it every day. And with every right choice, life, which seemed to slip through my fingers, began to be filled again with colors and purpose. The long road to recovery finally became a path of hope. Today, I'm a different man. Addiction left scars, it's true, deep marks on my soul and in my story. They remind me of where I came from and how far I've come. But as painful as they were, those scars also taught me a lot. They transformed me, molded me into a stronger, humbler, and paradoxically freer person than I ever was. That abyss that almost swallowed me became the greatest lesson of my life. I learned the value of vulnerability. For a man raised to be strong and not show weakness, admitting I was broken was the hardest and, at the same time, the most liberating thing I did. I realized that asking for help isn't weakness. It's an act of immense courage. It's acknowledging your limits and opening yourself to the possibility of healing that only the support of others can offer. Honesty, first with myself and then with those I had hurt, was the key to rebuilding trust, brick by brick. There are no shortcuts in recovery. Only the truth can set you free from the lies of addiction. I discovered the importance of acceptance. I can't change the past. I can't erase the mistakes I made while I was caught in the grip of that substance. But I can accept my flaws, learn from them, and use that experience to build a better future. Accepting that addiction is a chronic disease, and that recovery is an ongoing process, gave me the patience and persistence to keep moving forward, even on the toughest days. This means always being vigilant, always aware of the signs, but also celebrating every day of sobriety as a victory. Sobriety brought me back to myself. I was able to rediscover the small joys of life that addiction had stolen. The taste of a morning coffee, the sound of birds singing, the smell of freshly cut grass. Simple things I no longer noticed. I was able to reconnect with my family in a deep and authentic way. My wife Elizabeth began to smile with her eyes again, and my grandchildren's laughter filled the house with a joy I thought I'd lost forever. Today, I'm the grandfather I wanted to be, present, loving, and with a story to tell that might, who knows, help someone. Life after overcoming is a full life, full of purpose. I used my experience to help others, whether in support groups or by talking openly with friends and acquaintances who are fighting their own battles. I became a living example that recovery is possible, that a full life is within reach, even after facing the greatest adversities. That deep darkness taught me the value of light, hope, and the incredible resilience of the human spirit. My scars are a constant reminder that the greatest victory is never giving up on yourself. So, my dear friend, that's my confession. It's not easy to share the most painful parts of our lives, the choices that shame us, the paths that almost destroyed us. But I promise to be honest here on Grandpa's Confessions. And if my story, my battle against the addiction that plagues America, can ignite a light in someone's life, then every word, every painful memory was worth it. The most important message I want to leave with you today is this: no matter how far you've fallen, there's always a chance to rise. The darkness might seem complete, the shame might be paralyzing, but hope is a flame that never truly goes out. It might be hidden, faint, but it's there, waiting for you to find it and nurture it. I am living proof that it's possible to rebuild, to find peace and purpose, even after facing the worst. If you connected with my story, if you felt a squeeze in your chest, or if you know someone who is fighting this silent battle, know that you are not alone. Help exists, and the first step, the hardest one, is to ask. Reach out to a friend, a family member, a professional, a support group. Allow yourself to be vulnerable, and you'll discover a strength you never imagined you had. My journey taught me that life is a precious gift, and every day is a new opportunity to start over, to learn, and to love. Value your relationships. Take care of yourself, and never ever give up on the person you can be. If you enjoyed listening to this confession and want more stories, more life lessons shared from the heart, subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you don't miss the next videos. Leave your comment. I love reading what you think. A warm hug from Grandpa, and I'll see you next time. Remember, you are stronger than you think.